Welcome to Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and you're watching Diaspora Network Television. I am on with two amazing youngsters. Generation, what are you guys? Are you our generation, what, Y or Z, or what are you?
No
I'm
clue.
in the '80s, baby. I don't know exactly what
You're an
generation I fit into.
80s. Oh, you're an
I'm
80s?
90.
Okay. You're 90s. Okay. Well, I'm on with Renard Colker from Houston, Texas. Renard, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And we're on with Helena Nanansa from London, UK, aka former Mrs. What? Miss what? Miss
Tourism.
Tourism UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Welcome,
trying to
people.
get
How
my
are y'all doing?
diaspora title, you know.
Well, I listen. This is the spotlight on second generation. The reason why I'm doing this is I find the second generation critical, very, very important in what we're trying to do in Africa. As you know,
Okay.
the first generationers, we have our own ways of doing things. And in fact, in the United States, you guys have a whole YouTube channel that jokes about us, but that's okay.
We have multiple.
Very soon, we're going to leave the scene and it'll be you guys representing Africa across the world. And so I want to welcome you guys to the spotlight on the second generation. Let me start with you. They say ladies first. Nanasa, you're in UK. How are you?
As best as we can be with this COVID-19 going on, I guess. Just
How is
trying to
that going
stay in
in
the
UK?
spirit.
As it turns out, we are on with countries A, which is United States, has the most cases, most deaths, and then country B has the most deaths. What's going on with COVID-19 in UK?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I personally don't believe we are practicing social distancing because now the death rate, I believe, should be about 31 and above. 31,000 and above. So even though things are supposed to be shut down and we're supposed to be practicing social distance, but then the moment you go to the park for a run, there's just so much people in the park having like gathering. I'm not talking about like exercise gathering, I'm talking about fun times. Children are there playing, they just social. So it kind of puts you off from even going for like your walks and stuff. So
That's
that's
surprising
playing part of
because you
it.
guys, it's surprising because the death numbers in UK is astronomical. And yesterday was the first time that you guys came from strict lockdown. All right, and the trains are packed with people with no face masks
Not
on.
strict lockdown. We've been on the same type of lockdown, and I don't think it changed anyway. It's just yesterday just made it more confusing because we don't know if our prime ministers want us to go out or stay indoors because he's just contradicting himself. So hopefully he addressed the nation again. But so far, I
Wow.
don't think we have practiced social distancing from the beginning, and still, I believe our airports are still open, and they're not quarantining anyone. So
And people are walking
if
in
that
and out without any checks whatsoever.
people are walking in and out.
Wow.
I have few friends who came in from US straight here like a week ago and they didn't get quarantined. They didn't
Wow.
do anything. They just roaming. So I don't think as much as we're trying to bring make it look like we're doing something, I personally don't feel like we're doing much.
Okay. Renard, what is happening in Houston, Texas? Texas, your numbers are not that bad considering Texas is the second most populous state in the United States. What are you doing right?
Well, yeah, for us, even when the lockdown happened, not much really changed for us. They had a wide range of essential workers. So for most people, you know, we were still able to work. We just were at a stay-at-home order. We were still able to
Yeah.
go out. People were able to order food, all of those things. But the biggest change were service industries like restaurants, clubs, stuff like that.
Mhm.
That is where the biggest change happened. And ironically, that's where a lot of people, protested. A lot of people protested, and we opened up earlier than, I'll say this, I don't feel safe enough to go out like that yet. Right now,
Why?
I'm at
Hey,
stay-at-home order right now, at least for work still. So,
a
Wow.
lot of people protest the clubs to be open.
What's
yeah,
that?
yeah, they're protesting saying we should open up,
Oh,
open up
wow.
again businesses just because they're not making money. Unemployment is really high right now, for our standards. And it's really kind of
That's
crazy
good.
because on one hand, I see the issue. Definitely, a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people aren't able to, pay their bills, which they still ask for. There's not as much help as you might think in that regard. So, they go out and protest, and then for us, they reopen a lot of things. So,
Well,
But yeah,
all right. Let me start. Both of you second generationists were actually born on the continent, right?
no,
continent.
Renard?
What you
I was born. Well, I was born here. So I was
Oh, you
born
were
in
born in the
here in
United
Houston.
States.
I'm
Okay,
a Ghanaian
Houston.
baby.
And your parents are from where?
My parents from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Freetown, Sierra Leone. Have you ever been?
Yeah, I've been twice.
How old are you when you went to Sierra Leone for the first time?
The first time I was 14.
14. What was it like?
It was amazing, honestly. It felt like home. That's something that, when you're here in America or abroad, you always get a kind of a sense of feeling that something's missing. And I honestly did not know what it was until I went back, and that was really literally it. It just feels like home. Everything about it, the family that I got to see, places I got to go to, the food, of course, was amazing. It's just a lot different, and you don't. I'll say this: you don't feel
Did I
like
hear you say
you
the
always have somebody
food?
watching over your shoulder.
Did I hear you say the food was amazing?
Oh yeah,
Was there any different from the food that you ate at home? I'm sure your mom cooked Sierra Leonean at home back in the States.
oh yeah, for sure. But
But
the freshness of the ingredient. There's some stuff that you can't get here that you only can get when you're at home.
okay. What about you, Helena? And I went, you were born in Ghana, right?
I'm a Ghanaian baby.
How old are you when you first went to UK?
I was about 11.
11? Okay. And you've since then you've been coming and going, right? How many times have you made the trip back?
I can count more than 10, I believe.
Oh wow, that's good. You see, you see, Renard, that's my jealousy with the UK folks. Okay, they get on a plane, one flight, 6 hours, they're home. We have to go across a big Atlantic just to get there, so we don't get to
Exactly.
get home. But that's okay. That's okay.
No,
I
no,
mean,
we
I'm not
still live in
complaining.
a,
And the tickets aren't
but we
cheap
live in
either.
a, we live in a, we live in a,
Is that
we live in
what?
a cardboard.
I
I
said
said
the
we live
tickets
in a
aren't
cardboard.
cheap.
I know. I
Live in
know. So let's talk profession. Helena, so Helena, what do you do?
Currently I'm working as a housing customer service for housing and planning for the council, which is like a government body. But then at the same time I'm looking at going back to school and studying an osteopathy. So that's where
Okay. Studying what?
career
Sorry.
osteopathy. So it's kind of like a
Oh,
chiropractor, but then this is we deal more with the body as a whole. It's just not of the aligning the bones, just
my
massage,
daughter will
I
have
believe
something. My daughter will have something to say about that. You say you do more with the body than chiropractic. Well, I'll let that go. Renard, what about you? What do you do?
I'm an implementation engineering manager for an IT firm.
Okay, IT firm. And so both of you are professionals. Um, what did it feel like? In your case, you were born in United States, you were born in Ghana, but both of you came of age outside the continent. What was it like? Let me start with you, Helena. What was it like growing up in UK? I mean, coming of age in UK, different land and everything. What was it like?
Um, I feel like what was it like? I would not really, let me think about that. What was it like? It feels normal. I kind of feel like now comparing it to Ghana, UK kind of allow me to be more independent. So I kind of feel
Okay.
like I have more independency in a way where I know I can apply for job, apply myself and get the best type of job that I want to do. It's all about my own skills and being able to put myself out there. Whereby comparing to Ghana, I kind of feel like you mostly have no choice but then to live with your parents, and the next stage is marriage, to have someone else to be able to build your life. It's like you don't have the independency of just being by yourself and just taking care of you. And I kind of feel like the UK permits that in a sense where,
Well,
because the system
yeah. In
balances
your
it.
case, you got to go to school in Ghana and then in UK. So what were the school
Mhm.
days like? What was the difference in terms of how you relate with your friends in school in Ghana and then your friends in school in the UK?
Difference with school in Ghana and UK, I kind of feel like what I learned, because I left Ghana when I was like class 6, I believe, going to JSS1. And what I learned, I kind of feel like Ghana is very rigid. Like you learn a lot, and it made me smarter than most people when I came to London. Because the things that we're learning
Okay.
and struggling with, like we've learned this. Is why is
Okay.
this so difficult for you to grasp this idea? And it kind of shows you that in London, it's like whether you pass or you don't pass, you just keep getting promoted to the next class. Whereby in Ghana, after the end of the year, you have your exams. If you don't pass, you're gonna keep repeating, and
Okay.
there's this thing you don't want the shame behind it, so you work extra hard to try to pass your classes. Whereby if I'm in London, I know I go by years, I go by age, so I don't have to
Yeah.
study. I
Okay.
can choose to do the minimum and then get pushed forward. But then I kind of feel like
Okay.
you start to struggle in university because now you're an adult. So
Okay.
you choose to study.
All right. What about you, Renard? You did not get the opportunity to compare, but you went to or started school in the United States and went all the way to university. What was it like relating with your friends at school who might know that you might be there's something different about you? What was it like?
um, it's interesting because back, I guess back when I was at school, especially like elementary school and intermediate school, um, you know, we were bullied, and Africans were seen as less than in a lot of ways, and just Black people in general. And it's and it's crazy that that has shifted now to see where we are now and how everybody loves the culture and wants to be a part of the culture. It's really surprising. Back then,
What do you think
they used to
changed?
call you African booty scratcher, and
Music.
that's what they would call us. Oh yeah. We would make fun of a lot for being too
Music changed
dark.
it.
African booty
But
scratcher
what
they
changed
thought we were
though?
dirtier, and that's just wasn't the case. So you had that to deal with, and then of course you can't like you are kind of looking over your shoulder because you're Black. At the end of the day, all the things that we see on social media now, they were going on before. We just didn't have social media. So,
Okay.
you still had that factor to deal with also.
What
And
about
to add on to what he
parents?
said,
Go ahead.
I kind of
Mm.
can you hear me? I kind of feel
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
I kind of feel like growing up, because it's kind of like coming from Ghana to London, your accent is different. So they tend to pick on you a lot. And I kind of feel like, because I grew up with a lot of boys around me. I was quick with my mouth and quick with my feet. So I always had a comeback. But then one thing with here was the fact that no one was claiming African. You couldn't claim it. Or if they did claim it, it was my parents are African. I'm not African. I was born here, so I'm British. And they would claim everything. You would claim the Jamaica, you would claim Barbados, you claim all the Caribbeans, you just never did claim Africa. And
Okay, and why is
I think
that?
it's
Why
because
was
it
that?
was they had a perception. I kind of feel like, especially on TVs and everything, it was this perception of Africans running with lions, dirty, hungry. Like the languages where they used to make sounds to say the language like nom, nom, nom. It's like the languages were always, it was mimicked.
Yes.
There was nothing. You can speak it, you can speak your language, and they will find a way to twist it to make it sound so unappealing that you didn't want to claim it. And they will make sounds and noises, and you think, but that doesn't correlate. It doesn't relate to anything African. But they just had this, yeah, but you're monkey. Yeah, but you're swinging with this. Nah, sharp, you're African.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just you and
Well, I mean, if kids do that, we understand because kids will pick on everything. But do you see that that has changed today, Renard? Or did you
yes.
also have to claim? Did you ever have to deny being an African when you were going to
That's
school?
Well, I guess that that's something that my parents really instilled in me. Regardless of whoever made fun of me, they really made me always want to be proud of my heritage and my culture. I remember one time in college, they assume if you're black and you go to a public white institution that you're an athlete. They didn't even assume. They assumed that I was there because I was an athlete. They didn't assume that I got there because of my GPA, because of academics. And I was solely there
And you
because of
went to
academics.
You went to Baylor. That's a pretty good school, a famous private school,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right. So let's talk about our parents. You know, I will reveal something to you guys, and whatever you do, don't tell my kids about this. All right. American second generations, they have an entire YouTube page where they make fun of African parents. Matter of fact, the guy that does that, his name is Owusu. I've forgotten the first name. Now, when I see his video, I am forming a group of parents fighting back because we have your baby pictures and we know how you hate to have your baby pictures shared among your friends. So I just want you to know that I'm working on that right now. But how did parents play in when you were growing up in terms of how they handled you? Were they more strict or less strict compared to your friends in school? Let me start with you, Reynard.
I think it was definitely more strict, just because they knew what was at stake. We didn't know at the time because we were just kids, of course, but they knew what was at stake. They knew how hard they had worked to get there, and they knew kind of some of the challenges that we'd be facing as adults and as we grew up as children. So it was always pretty strict in our household. They prized academics over everything, over everything else, because that's one thing that they can't take away from you. And I didn't realize how true that was until you see everything that's happening today, especially here in America. I know it happens in a lot of other places, but it's really broadcast here a lot in America. And that's the one thing that they can't take from you. So that was the one thing that they stressed, and they just stressed like doing what you needed to do to make sure you made it to the next day, and instilling that work ethic and that adaptability. Being able to adapt to any situation, that was a big thing that my parents really stressed, because you never know where you can find yourself, even if you're minding your own business or unfortunately taking a job.
Helena, did your parents ever utter the word "I love you" to you?
Recently, yes. Current, no. No. But in their defense, I'm going to defend it, even though African parents can't say the word I love you. They did. I feel like their I love yous were never just words, actions. The actions proved it.
Did you see it at the time?
Yes, I kind of felt like the actions were beyond. Like there was no way you could ever make me question that my mom didn't care. It's not possible. Even so today, it's just not possible. Because the things that were done beyond. Like sometimes I see like friends, friendship group and stuff, and the things that I know my mom can go up and above. And I'm like, I prefer that type of I love you than telling me I love you and you're not doing anything about it.
Okay. And so Renard, did you the same question, did your parents ever utter the words I love you to you when you were a kid growing up?
My mom did. My dad has not to this day. He's never said I love you. He'll say we love you guys because I have a little brother. So he'll say we love you guys, we care about you guys, we want the best for you guys. But he's never said I love you. So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I know. I know that he does.
Okay, so if you went to your friend's house and they were the type where like I love you, and you hear, and then you came back home and you never heard that, how did it make you feel?
For a guy, it made you feel like, we don't say I love you. We just don't do it. It's just something we don't do. If you're a man's man, you don't say that. And
would you have a problem saying it to your child?
No, because my mom would say it all the time. My mom would say it often. So I always knew,
Okay.
And like they said, like our parents would show us with their actions. Definitely, their actions spoke a lot louder than words.
I think Owusu did a video about that, right? I don't know if you guys saw that video. You saw that video, right?
They'll tell you, have you eaten? Did you do your schoolwork? Do you need anything?
Yeah, have you eaten? That's the universal.
I feel like, to me, I kind of felt like when I did hear my friend's parents did say I love you, it didn't move me. It didn't make me feel some type of way because I kind of feel like the love was very vague. It was just words, and there was really no action behind it. Because then it's like, for me, it's like if my mom disciplines me, she comes back and tell me the reasons why she did that. It was never just because I said. There was reasons behind them, and I know most of the time for me to get disciplined, I know for facts, I know what I did. So it was.
So talk about discipline. Talk about discipline. Love. Did you get whipped? Did you get whipped in the UK?
Oh, yes.
What about you, Renat?
Funny things.
That was part of my daily routine. I just had a lot of energy, and I didn't really have anywhere to direct that energy. So, probably at least the first 10, 13 years, whoopings were regular.
Oh yeah, when you're younger. But the thing is, I kind of feel like I had teachers, especially the Ghanaian teachers, they'd be like, "Somwadia, boniti," like hit her, and will not do anything. I was like,
wow.
Expecting money from your relations abroad. Have you ever been defrauded of your money remittance? Open an ADB account today. Send your name and your account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram direct to account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram direct to account service, there's no PIN code wahala. You can now access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send it to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile banking app or shortcode *767#. Visit our branches nationwide to conveniently receive your Western Union, MoneyGram, RIA, Unitylink, Transfast, and Express Money Transfers. Reach us on our Facebook, website, or call our hotline on 0302 210 210 for more information. ADB, truly accurate and more.
let's talk about your larger communities. All right. Renard, the Sierra Leonean community in Houston, what's it like?
We're very close knit. Actually, it's very rare that the somebody if anybody's in the Sierra Leone community, they most likely know your parents because in Houston we're much smaller than the Nigerian population. Nigerian is the biggest that I think in America. Houston has the biggest Nigerian population other than Nigeria. So for us, we're very close knit. It was always village. It takes a village to raise a child mentality, and so we were always around each other. I have a bunch of aunts and uncles, like I'm sure you do, and everything like that. So it was always very, very close knit and very tight knit.
So the term "it takes a village to raise a child" is it applicable to your community in Houston?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's how. I mean, we help. They helped us. They helped raise us. At the end of the day, it took all of them to raise us, and everyone had an impact.
Okay. What about you, Helena? Helena, I mean, would you say London, the Ghanaian community, is a village?
I wouldn't have much to say about the Ghanaian community because I'm not really into the Ghanaian community, and I kind of feel like it depends on what part of London you are, because some part of London have like huge Ghanaian communities. So especially like North London, South London, whereby I live in the East, I hardly go to like gatherings and stuff. But from my perspective, it wasn't just the Ghanaian community as a whole, but it was an African community. The moment they realized that you were African and you were disrespectful, they would check you. Any African, but mostly the people for me were Nigerians and Ghanaians. They'd be like, "Would your mother be proud of you?" Or "You don't talk like this to this person." So they were constantly checking at you when you were African. They felt like they could do that to the African kids because then it was a culture underline of respect. So it wasn't whether I was your mother or not your mother. I can still correct you.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let me talk about that for a minute because growing up in Ghana, I was perhaps out of the norm because I spoke my mind. But if you're growing up in Africa, you spoke your mind, you got the beating of your life. And sometimes I did get a beat of my life, but it did stop me. But that's the Ghana standard. What was the standard in your various homes when you were growing up in an environment where you're encouraged to speak your mind? Renard, what was it like?
My parents always allowed me to express myself. But you still had to respect. You still had to have the utmost respect, no matter how you spoke. There's just certain things you didn't do. There's certain things you didn't say. You didn't call your parents by their first name. You didn't do that. That's something that happens a lot here that you just don't do. You don't just have outbursts like that that are disrespectful. You always have to. I was always instilled to treat everybody with respect. Anyone with respect. So that's one thing that.
Did you ever try that and you got a whipping of your life and you learned really quickly, or?
I think I tried it once, and I can say I'll never do it again. I never did it again after
that. There you go.
You always push the boundaries a little bit.
You push the boundaries. What about?
Yeah, you always try just to see how far you can go.
Yeah, and so when Nana and San, if you go to your friend's house, perhaps Caucasians, and they're known to be able to tell their parents, "Oh, don't be silly." If you came home and he said that to your parents, what would happen to you?
I wouldn't even do. It would not.
She couldn't fathom doing that. See,
it would not even register in your head for you to even. Don't be what? To whom? Under whose roof?
Okay. I remember, I think I got a whooping one time because my mom was watching Oprah and the kid was talking bad to his parents, and she said, "If you ever do that," and like she whooped me then, and I wasn't doing it. That's the one time
Wait,
I
she
didn't do
whipped
anything.
you. Wait. She whipped you for what somebody did on TV.
Yeah.
Please tell me you're lying.
No.
Wait, you got a whipping for what a child did on TV.
So that you
Yes,
see it.
yes.
That
And she
right.
basically said, you better not even think of doing that. And I was eating my breakfast. I was getting ready for school, eating the cereal that she gave me. That was the one time I didn't do anything. Later on that day I did do something.
Anyway, what about parties?
But
What
I kind
about
of feel like
parties
for me,
and dancing? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with that line of thought, Helena.
yeah, I was like, I don't think about all, but for me, I kind of feel like there was still an element of freedom where you could call your mom by her first name, but in a jokey manner. It's like when you're laughing, you're like, hey, Joe. But then that's it. But you can't further down to think she's your friend. She is your friend when she needs to be your friend, and she's your parent when she needs to be a parent. So there was this balance. I kind of felt like I enjoy the balance where everything wasn't beats. It was just the eye look, the side eye, the sound behind it. It's like you realize that already. And I kind of felt like my mom also did it in a way where she installed trust. So you were afraid to disappoint her. So that kept you on your toes.
What about parties? When we go to parties, the program is almost always the same. After all the speeches and everything, they start playing the local music and the adults take over. By the time we blink, the kids have taken over the floor with their version of the dancing. Why? Don't you like the way we dance? Or what's going on here? What's wrong with our music?
I kind of feel like UK are more old school. Like I feel like the scene here, we appreciate more of like the old people songs. Like we literally know all the like I know more old people song in UK than I do in Ghana. Like in Ghana, I hardly hear it. Like here you hear so and a child that is 5 is singing so. You're like, excuse me, where were you born to be singing so? Like Kwabena songs, or you will hear Daddy Lumba, like all this. I felt like because most people came here when they were during their youth, so they had this songs that were playing when they were coming. So it's kind of like holding on to their culture. Or it reminds them of home. So they play that a lot. And I kind of feel like most Londoners are very old school instead of the new school. And you know,
What
like
about the dance? What
the
about
dance
the
is still the
dance? Do you
same.
dance?
The dance is still the same. It's just high life dance. They're dancing like you're 60 and you're like, yo, you're not 60. But then, of course, the Ike and then the Azonto came in, and then the Shaku Shaku, and they have the songs for that. And then you see the Shaku Shaku champions. But I feel like
Wow.
I feel like they appreciate both. But
So
sometimes it's just,
do you want to tell me you guys don't silently, secretly laugh at us when we get the floor and we're doing our thing?
We do. Like as you get older, you appreciate it. Yeah, as teenagers maybe not, but as you get older, you do appreciate it. You do appreciate the culture. You appreciate the music, and I think what happened was as time went on, younger people started making it more fashionable, I guess, to give that nod back to the culture. So that's just
Okay, so
something that.
since you guys tease us so often, I want the both of you, starting with you, Renard, what do you find embarrassing about the Sierra Leonean community that said, man, I don't want my friends to see this? And what do you find that you say, this is pretty cool? What are those?
Embarrassing? Man, our people they can act. They can act very, very well. They can
What do they
and
act?
when you're younger, they can act. They can put on a show when they need to at any given point in time.
I don't understand.
So
What show?
they're very good at making scenes. I'll say it like that.
Well, give us an example. What's an
Very, very
example
good
of
at
making
making
a
scenes.
scene?
drama.
What's an
Yeah.
example of
So
making a
that's
scene?
huh?
Like Like your friends come over and they do something to embarrass you that you know you're
Oh
going to
yeah,
tease them.
yeah, yeah. They don't care if your friends are over. They don't care about any of that. You act up. You're
Give us an
yeah. You're
example.
gonna
Come
get.
on, give us an
Nah,
example.
I
I'm sure
can't.
you
Yo,
have.
I don't want to put. That's not what this is for. I keep that one to myself. But
Hey,
Helena knows.
you're
She knows
old.
what I'm
You've
talking
left
about.
the house now. You live on your own. So come on, get just one
Nah,
example.
no. I still have to go back. I still have to visit.
Okay. All right. What about things that you say, this is pretty cool?
Oh, just how far back the culture goes. You know how a lot of people do Ancestry.com. We already know all of that information. We have papers from way from the beginning of our family. So
No, that's not what I'm
you
talking
never had
about.
to go and.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that your parents did that you say, that's pretty cool.
Oh, man, they're like at times your parents can be a little flashy. They're a little bit cooler than others, and of course, black don't crack, so they barely age. That's the two things that I
Oh,
always
okay.
thought was very very cool, and I look forward to.
All right. Helena, have you ever seen your parents kiss?
My dad passed away, so no, I would say that. But my mom had enough children, so I'm guessing they loved each other very much.
I know, but did they express affection in front of you, the children?
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't really know that. I don't ever hear my mom speak about my dad. She smells like a cat. Her mouth is from her ears to ears, and I'm like,
Oh,
yo,
wow.
of you. But
That's pretty cool.
You could still see it and Posh never been with anyone else. So
Okay. So what about you? Embarrassing moments, cool moments by your parents?
I feel the coolest moments is knowing that my friends will come over and I'll not do anything, and my mom would just take care of everything. And oh my God, you're so lucky, you're so spoiled. Your mom, like my mom will slap me. And I'm like, mom will not. I'll go and that's my body. But the most embarrassing is when she asks you to wash or clean up and you haven't. Just know that your friends are going to be very aware of that. And if you don't take time, they will step up to let them see how. Or if you haven't bathed, or if you haven't tidy up a room, and then you're going, look at the way you're walking. They come and see your room. And you're like, yo, can you not embarrass me?
What about
Like
you,
they make
Renee?
See, remember they're gonna see this. Your
Any
parents gonna see
expression of did your parents ever express
this.
affection in front of you? Uh-huh. Did your parents ever did you witness them express affection in front of you, the children?
Not really. When I got older, they did, like high school, but at first, nah, you never saw that.
Okay, so
so weird how
let's
you
talk
don't.
about what's that? Let's talk about your social circles.
Okay.
Your social circles. Now you're older, you finished school, you're in your professions and everything. How wide is your social circles? I imagine your friends are not only Sierra Leoneans, right?
Oh yeah.
How wide is your social circle?
I think for me, like, you learn kind of engage here. Back home, there are a lot of divisions because everybody there is Black. Everybody there is African. So they divide themselves based on other things like tribe, social status, economic status, stuff like that. Here, we're all so we all collectively try to collaborate when we can, no matter where you're from. If you're Black, that's how we look at it, because there's always so many other things against you. So that's something that we really, wherever you saw a Black person, you try to make them feel welcome.
You're married to a Ghanaian, right?
Yes, I'm married.
Was that ever a problem? Like, did you ever at any moment think, oh, would my parents accept this or something like that?
I'll say like this: here in America, they just want you to marry at this point. They're not worried
They just
about
want you to,
tribe or where you're from.
you said they just want you to,
Yeah, they just want
you
you to marry
said,
an African.
okay, okay. What about you, Nanasa? Well, your social circles, how wide are they? And your potential suitor, does he have to be from a certain country? Any,
I kind of feel like social similar circles would be Ghanaians, but then I have a lot of Congolese friends. I have a Thai friend. I have Jamaican friends. It's very mixed for me. I have a very mixture of social circle, and personally for me, because I can see myself living in an African country. And I don't know where particularly, but I feel like I'm a very tropical person. So I wouldn't mind any African country as long as we connect on just on the same. So I'm not really focused on he has to be from here or there. Or I'm not forced on that. So it doesn't phase me. But
all right, so it doesn't matter.
I would prefer an African, and if it's a non-African, you have to be interested in my culture.
Okay. Would you be interested in his culture in return?
Definitely, but just know that we're living in my continent.
So if a Russian came along, well, if you met a Russian guy that you really, really like, you would not live in Russia.
No. Me before we even process and we proceed on talking, my first question is, do you see yourself moving? If it's a no, next. I am not wasting your time. We're not, because we have different directions. My direction is very focused on a tropical place, and that tropical place narrows down all the way to an African country. And if I really want to really, really narrow it down, it's Ghana. Are you open to the idea of living abroad? If the answer is no, there's no point of me and you having conversations because I don't want to live here.
Okay. All right. So now we touched on tribalism. This person is from here. This person is from here. Within your circles, does that really matter? I'm not talking about marriage here or dating, but what do you guys think about it when you see that in Ghana, let's say Ashantis and Fantis are like this, and in Sierra Leone the Creoles, and does that really matter? And what do you think when you see your first generation engage in that kind of behavior?
I don't think it
Um,
matters because it's kind of like if you're Ghanaian, you're Ghanaian. It's not about where you're from or where you're not from. It's just like, can you speak Cree? Because it's like we want the local language. Oh, do you like this Ghanaian music? Do you eat this food? It's all about finding the common interest instead of what we don't have in common. So we are more united. But then when you go to Ghana and then you meet the older generation, and then they will start with, that person is gone. They're lazy. Oh, that person is fancy. They don't do this. They don't do that. But when you're here, you don't see that because then we have to fend for ourselves. Everyone is doing what they have to do to survive and push to be a better whomever they are. So you don't have that time to be able to culturally break down. And because most people here also don't have the idea of back home or Ghana or African country in depth. So we don't have you might ask someone where you from, they'll be like, oh, I'm from the Ashanti region. What part? They don't really know what part. They just know they've been told I'm from the Ashanti region.
Okay.
So there's nothing concrete to hold on and be like, I'm this and I don't want to mess with this. It's never a topic of conversation. It's just, oh, do you know where you're from? Oh yeah, I think I'm from the Ashanti region. Oh, okay, cool. What you like?
That's it.
So it's
What about you, Renat? I mean, these divisions, where do you see it going? And does it matter in your age group?
No, and well, at least in Houston, I can't speak for other places, but at least in Houston, it really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're a part of the culture, and if you show it, for us, if you show interest in the culture, that's all it really takes. Because like Helena said, we're all trying to fend for ourselves. We're all trying to survive, and we really stick to the common things. We stick to the common, food is a big one, of course.
Yes.
The clothes, the parties, the music. These are
Big
all
art.
things that we can all connect on the same level. So that's what we kind of cling to. And just not only that, but here, you're always, again, you got to look out for each other. Like just from a safety standpoint, just because you never know who might be out to get you. You never know, what could happen at any given point of time. So being isolated really doesn't help you here. So usually we all try to connect on some level.
When you go out of your doors, how much do you project your African culture? Are you bold enough to wear African clothing out, like you're going to the shop, you're going to the barber shop or the hair salon? If it's not where you need to go, where you have to have a certain type of uniform, do you frequently go out wearing your African outfits? Any of you can take that. Let me start with Go ahead, Renard.
I was saying now that I have a lot to wear. At first, I just didn't have a lot to wear, but now that I have it, we're always looking for opportunities to wear them out. We love the culture. I don't think it was true maybe earlier, just because you were always in your face. You always put in the designer brands and all these other things. So custom designs or custom dresses or custom suits weren't always they weren't always popular. But now that we're older, especially now that we're getting older, it all makes a full circle. I think we always all come back to our roots in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Helena, I mean, London is very close to Africa. Imagine you walk on the street, you see a lot of African clothes and people speaking the language. Is that common?
Kind of with the African clothes, especially in London, the moment it started taking over is when Fuse ODG started with the whole Azonto movements. So I don't know if do you know the Prince Dashiki?
Yes, the Shiki.
Okay. Yes, so the Shiki actually took over. So everywhere you went, whether you were Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian, you had to throw the dashiki in. The music were loud, so people were embracing more of the African culture. It was a very common to see someone throw a kente on their shoulders to go out to go for an award show. It became a very normal thing, and also due to the fact that we also have Nigerians here that are very, one thing I always praise them for is they hold high on their cultures. So you see them wearing the kaftan with the hat and they swag it out, especially with African parties and stuff. So it kind of promotes it in a way where seeing someone in African print doesn't surprise you. You're just like, oh, that print is nice. Where did you get that from? It becomes a topic, a conversation. It opens doors for discussion and stuff. And I kind of feel like for me, wearing African prints started very early for me, even when there wasn't claiming Africa. It's just, I was grateful for the fact that I had an uncle and my history teacher made sure I knew where my roots were. So she always used to give me books to read or the pro-Black. And so I was very much in tune with my Africanness.
Hello, my name is Kofi Opon Ochre, and I bring you NASA on DNT, a program designed to expose corruption and indiscipline in our society and advocate for the punishment of these offenders whose activities impede national development. The National Road Safety Commission indicates that Ghana loses $230 million to road accident, with over 1,600 deaths recorded every year. In 2018, Stride report indicated that Ghana loses 13.5 billion Ghana cedis to corruption, Our United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has also stated that Ghana loses $290 million to poor sanitation alone. This is not right. So make a date with me, and together let's name and shame the offenders of the law. NASA, see something, say something.
Good luck on Hello Entertainment Box. Hello Entertainment Box. Hello Entertainment Box.
Hello Entertainment Box.
Hello Entertainment Box.
Okay, let me switch subjects on you. In the United States, the political climate has changed drastically with the coming into power of Trump. And in the UK, it's almost like it followed the same, pattern, and the Brexit, anti-immigranism, and Boris Johnson came in. Any of you political, A, and two, do you worry about the future of the country in which you live?
I feel like the political climate right now, I don't think is sustainable, especially for UK, due to the fact that I don't think personally UK can live as a whole country on its own without all the immigrants. Because then if you take the immigrants out, we have nothing. Because then recently they had a news where they needed farmers, and they didn't have enough farmers in the UK, so they had to ask, I forgot what country, to come in to help with the farming. So again, you're going back to the words that you claim too much immigrants, but now you're contradicting yourself because you need those workers. So I don't think it's sustainable, and I kind of feel like it's a bait, which it will go round and round in circle, and it'll come back to the idea of we can't sustain. I don't think it's sustainable. And it's just a way to keep in the media and a way of conversation. That's how I see it.
If I remember correctly, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, when he got sick with coronavirus and he came out, his first speech, he had a lot of praise for the nurses, the minority nurses who were by his side, who literally saved his life. One of whom was from Argentina. Do you think that speech changed any minds with regards to race relations?
I kind of feel like they are very much aware of how immigrants do impact the country, but I kind of also feel like people are very lazy in a sense of finding information out for yourselves and trying to educate yourself. It's just a barrier of self-education. I kind of feel like it's just spoon-feed. They want to be spoon-fed, and if they go immigrants are this, and then they'll run with it, forgetting that without those immigrants, it's not fair to say, but then the average British is lazy.
Okay. What about you, Renata?
Most people that are on the front line right now dying are the minorities, because the minority deaths are high, and they are the front lines for corona, nurses. So again, it just relate. Okay.
Renard, Mr. Trump, what's your concern? I mean, I'm not asking you to, but I'm talking more about the climate of the country in which you live. What are your concerns, if you have any?
Well, when it comes to Trump, the good news about our president is that they're always temporary. That's kind of how I put that.
The what?
But as far as the political climate of anything, if anything, he's made things more divisive than bringing people together. He ran on that. That's how he ran. He ran in really inciting a specific group of people. And although it was a political tactic to get elected, which worked beautifully, it made things much harder when it came to, social justice issues for minorities. And when it came to minorities in general, it made it a lot harder because they got bolder. At first, you had a lot of covert, kind of racism where they would just try and prevent you from, progressing. Now people can be in your face with it if you're in the wrong area at the wrong time. Yeah, they'll find ways.
What about you recently heard about the Ahmed Aubrey case in Georgia, the murder?
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's in the
thing
South.
that keeps happening. That's the thing. It keeps happening, and it seems like at times it is fearful because if you're a black man or black woman in America, you're looking over your shoulder half the time. Because you never know. It could be just somebody random, and this wasn't even the actual police. This was citizens police. So that was kind of crazy how that happened. And then you had with Trayvon Martin. That was not an actual police officer. That was somebody from Neighborhood Watch. So you have people who feel empowered because they're given power that they probably shouldn't have. And then mix that in with their implicit biases and the things that they already think they know about us, but they don't really know us. So you fear what you don't understand, as the saying goes. So that's something that you're always worried about when you go outside. That's something that you have to teach your kids about really young because they may just be trying to be kids. And lo and behold, you're killed for that. That's something you can be killed for.
Right. Okay, let's spend the final 15 minutes on Africa. When you look at Africa, you look at the leadership, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you see?
Potential. Okay, how I see it is this. I feel like we have everything we need, but then we have enough selfish people, and we have people that are afraid, fearful. That's how I see it. We have fearful leaders. So the leaders that are bold.
Wait, did you say fearful leaders?
Yes, because then for you to be able to, in a sense of, for it to be a Pan-African unity, we have to have bold leaders. You need to be able to stand up. And I feel like most leaders, if you are that bold and ballsy, most of the time, you're executed, you're exiled. Like there's just a lot of things that tend to happen to them. So even though they can go forward and up front, there's always a shaky ground. It's always shaky. And I kind of feel like we don't also unite. To me, it's just a unity behind it. The fact that still taking money from almost 15 African countries does not make sense to me. And the fact that Togo is next to Ghana and Togo is going through whatever they're going through till now, and Ghana is very silent about it. Why? Because it doesn't affect us directly. It's like if it doesn't affect us, then we don't have to talk about it or we don't have to fight for it. And I kind of feel like we always wait for.
What is Togo going through?
The fact that I think they wanted to fight their independence in France, and also most of their things that chess is from France. They want to remove their money from the France, and with all that going on, it's this costing restrictions, and it's just a way where the unity. It's like we have to. If one fall, we all fall. In a way where if I feel like that scenario is thinking of the fact that having a or big brothers and you being the only one, like your math is faster because you know you have a backup, but when you know you're the only one standing, what you can do, you're very shaky. And I kind of how I tend to view Africa, like when I see it.
Okay, Renard, what do you see?
I think like as far as just Sierra Leone in general, for the past decade, it's been a roller coaster. You have a couple of years where things will improve exponentially, and then there's a lot of setback. One setback where the wars, back like over a decade ago, they had a recent war that really set them back a lot. So they're making a lot of progress. And then you see a lot of and then the Ebola outbreak had a large effect on its development. I think the leadership is they're doing their best, but they still have a lot of things that they have to improve upon. They have a lot of things that still where the people are still suffering. At the end of the day, the people are still suffering. So, you know, I think at first you're not really aware of it, especially in America. Like a lot of people say, you know, have a lot of there are a lot of people concerned with what's going on in their country or what's just going on in general. You know, they're looking for ways to contribute. They're looking for ways to give back, and to even go for the first time. A lot of people haven't been ever, and they want to go to experience to see what it's like. Just to be, you know, again, when the first time I went, I'll never forget. It just felt like home. It just felt like home, even though I had never been there before. That first time I went, it felt like I was home, and that's a feeling that you. It's a safe feeling. It's a really safe and secure feeling.
Yeah.
And
See,
to piggyback on what you said, Mr. Jermaine, a quick one. To me, it's like, okay, right now that the whole corona and everything is going on, and when I'm in Ghana, I tend to find out things more about things that are going on in UK and America than I tend to find out about any other African country.
Okay.
We don't publicize our own news. We don't talk about our neighboring country. We never discuss things happening. So I never discuss things happening in Liberia. We never discuss things happening. Maybe Nigeria, because we have Nigerians around and it's very loud and we hear it from, you know, Chinese whispers, but it's never a news discussing that. But then you hear a news about, oh yeah, the Prime Minister in London said this, or yeah, and the Queen entered Canada. Like, what does that have to do with us? The most important things in countries, like, we're not aware of it, and when you're not aware of it, how do we reunite from that? Where do we come to a common ground and be able to communicate effectively within the continent?
Okay,
because we know about
you know, every generation transitions to the other. When you look at our generation, I still have family members that I know here on the continent, even if I live in Houston, Texas, or anywhere else. But we're going to leave the scene, and Africa is going to be in your hands. So when people talk about the diaspora and folks at home working together, if we who knew people back at home have not been able to work together as diaspora and continental people, then it looks like you guys are going to have a harder time connecting with people your age on the continent. Does that concern you?
Actually, I kind of feel like it's a bit easier for us now, thanks to social media. It's raising awareness. It's kind of creating a platform of communication. It's creating a way where we are starting to understand each other's struggle and what's going on from the other part of the world, to know that outside it's not all gold and glitter that they make it sound like. In Ghana, it's not all monkeys and donkeys jumping around. It's kind of like, I feel like we have a common ground right now within the youth, where social media, as much as it can be detrimental to your health, is also bringing awareness. But it's just, it can be of an overload of information where everyone puts 2 cents in. But right now, I kind of feel like our generation are very quick on social media. It can be something happening in America, and from the UK, the blacks will know, from Ghana, from other African country, and we all just rally up at the same time, and we make it very aware. Maybe it might not be protesting, but we repost it and bring awareness and more attention to it, and it becomes a point of discussion. So I kind of feel like we are a very active generation.
Okay, so Renard, based on what Helena said, are you a Sierra Leonean second generation in Houston, Texas? How likely are you to work with, say, your age mate in Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia? Social media can connect you, but do you feel comfortable enough with that person to work with him for a common cause?
Yeah, for us, I think that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're from. At this point, we are trying to unite, because how we see it at this point is that we're fighting for our survival, fighting for all of our, for our legacies. and we want our cultures to be celebrated and not put down or repressed. And so when it comes to working with anybody abroad, I think that we're more willing to do it. I think that I agree. I think it is easier just because we're much more open to talking with each other, and I think that I know maybe the parents themselves may not for some parents, but for the vast majority of parents, they actually encourage it. They say you should work with whoever you can, especially when you've been in this country for a long time, just because you know that you may not have that opportunity. And you also know that you're not just always going to be able to work with your same tribe necessarily. You have to cling to whoever you can and collaborate with whoever you can so that we're all lifted up. And so it's one people, African, no matter where you're from, it's one people.
Okay.
So I think that's more the mentality, especially
So
now more than ever.
Yeah.
how would you guys work together, you in the diaspora and your generation counterparts on the continent? Because you guys have to do something different from what we have done, because we haven't really connected to work together. But you have to work together. How would you do it?
I kind of feel like with our generation, I feel like with the older generation, your generation is more of a quieter generation. We discuss more of our troubles, our worries, our fears, how important honesty is for us. I feel like we're very direct and very upfront with how we want things to be. And we also are very precise on how we want things. Like we're very, even though they say we're very stubborn and we feel like we know it all, but it's just, I'm going to trust you for the first time to do this. And it's transparency. And if I feel like I cannot trust your work, I will move on and leave you behind and move. And I kind of feel like we're very business savvy, as in effective. We want results. We just don't want, okay, you would do this, you do that. Deadlines. We're very much on deadlines because I feel like we grew up in a of everything is very time consuming, deadline, fast pace, whereby the older generation is more like, I can't come and kill myself. You're not quite yet. Like I will do it whenever I can. If I say I'm going to meet you at 6, I'll meet you at 8, and you'll be like, but that's how the person is. No, I want to say, like, if we're gonna meet you at 6, be there at 6. If you're not there at 6, you don't respect my time. So I will not want to work with you anymore. I feel like we're very clean cut.
You are, but Renard, you will agree with me, you guys would agree with me that in as much as you guys grew up in an environment where time is money, scheduling and everything, you're direct, your counterparts on the continent, they may be like you now to an extent, but by the time they grow up 10 years from now, they would have picked up the habits that are currently existing on the continent. So they would have been socialized in the old ways. How would you work with them?
I don't think that's necessarily true. Just
Okay.
because time is because of isolation. Yes, there may be some things that may be picked up from the older generation that are there, but for the most part, because we're all more exposed to each other, we're much more willing to speak with each other no matter where you're from. And
Okay.
not only that, you're able to see as the country progresses, time is becoming money there also. So it's really the same attitude. In addition to the fact that now you're trying to gain ownership. So you're going to be willing to work with whoever you need to work with in order to gain that ownership. That's the one thing that we've been lacking as a people is ownership. So as we're trying to strive for that, we're willing to work with anybody that we can.
And
Okay, I think
especially
a lot
if
of
they're African like us.
And to piggyback on what
Uh-huh.
he said, it's just, I kind of feel like even the older, let's say our counterpart will get comfortable with whatever society or community they grow up in, which is fair point that it can happen. But it also shows us a balance. I kind of feel like we're very go, 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 go. And they're very relaxed. And we kind of have to get to a point where it's beneficial for both parties, because you can't always be going, 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 because that's why the stress level is very high here. And back home is very relaxed. So we have to pick the good and the bad, and then see where our common ground is. And I kind of feel like we're very good in finding what we have in common than what we don't. So we tend to focus more on how we can better ourselves instead of, yeah, you're bad at this. It's like, cool, that's your weakness, but that's my strength. So I will take the strength on, and I will take the weakness. If your weakness, my strength, and then whatever you're good at, I'll give that to you. I wouldn't just give you things because I think, oh, you're there, but it's just what you're good at. So we're very
Okay, so let's close it
Yeah,
out
I'll
with
say
this.
this. I think we're more willing to work with each other as Africans, whether they're on the mainland or not, than to give it to necessarily another race. If I have the opportunity to work with somebody that's like me versus having to choose another race, if they're about on par with their level of work and expertise, I'm going to go a little bit harder for the person that's more like me than to slack off a little bit, just because I know this person may not be as invested as somebody like me is. If I'm working with somebody like me, I'm more invested. I want to see that person win, and that person wants to see me win. So if we collaborate, we're actually doing more to help each other and not less.
Okay, so in ending, it looks like the operative word here is unity for Africa to move forward. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then
Yes,
let's do
absolutely.
this. Let's do this to close it out. I want you to look at from 0 to 100, with 0 to be completely apart and 100 being totally united. Where would you grade African unity today? What grade would you give them?
As much as we like to say Africans is very corrupt and thing, I would say unity. We are better right now, especially with the corona. I'm not even going to lie. I'm like.
I want you to give me a grade, though. I want you to give me a grade.
I would say
Well, it's
right
about the
now.
numbers.
Right now, how many? No, from 0 to 100.
Oh, 0
From
to
0 to
100.
100. Yeah.
60.
60. Renard, where are we
60.
at now?
Right now, I'm gonna say about 60, because it's not. I agree with you that there's still some people that are apprehensive on either side to work with each other, but it is a lot better than it was now. With all the drawbacks of social media, that's the one thing that social media did. It opened the door to a lot of exposure and a lot of conversations that may not have been had if it didn't exist. So for me, I'm about at a 60 to 65,
60.
but we still have a ways to go. We still have quite a ways to go.
Okay, so
especially
now,
the way they come back to corona.
Okay.
For Africa.
Okay, so African unity, maybe 10 to 15 years from now, when you guys start assuming some leadership position, where do you think, what grade would you give Africa then if we continue the current trajectory?
Let's be. We're going to be very humble. We would say we will give ourselves, I don't know, 75, 80, because there's always going to be a problem. There needs to be some for others to grow and come in. As long as we make it just, if not even large, but just a bit better for the other generation to come in, it's always progression. There's always room for progression. So we can't really determine, but I would say 75 there.
What's your number,
15.
Renat?
I would say a little higher. I would say we could get to like at least 80. I think we get to 80. The reason I think that is just because, again, as we continue to grow, the more exposed that we're going to be to each other, and the more we'll be able to collaborate, even with the differences. Yes, there will always be some issues, but I think that if you're invested in your home country and in just the continent in general, think about this. Think about all the professionals that are in the diaspora. If they all ended up coming together, that alone is millions of people who have gone and gotten advanced degrees, advanced training, highly professional, high level professionals. You bring that in, you bring an influx of that in addition to the opportunities that are growing on the continent itself. more exposure to learn more, gain more advanced degrees, gain more opportunities, it's going to converge more than separate when it comes to us.
All right. So it looks like both of you are very optimistic for African unity, and
We
foresee,
have to be.
do you
We have no
foresee
choice.
United States of Africa in your lifetime?
We don't see United States of Africa. We just see Great Africa. We don't want. They can keep the other one. Great Africa.
I see something
That's
better
it.
than the United States of Africa. I think it'll be better than that.
You see what?
I think it'll be
Something
better than
better
the
than
United
that.
States of Africa if you're
We don't want
comparing.
United.
Okay, very good.
We want
Okay.
something with grace and gold and
Yeah,
Okay.
you know.
because I mean we have the most resources. That continent has so many resources and so many business opportunities too. So you know, once we learn how to harness it ourselves and actually own those things, it's sky's the limit.
Very good. Hey, I'd like to thank the both of you. It's been a great conversation. The reason why we're doing this spotlight on second generation is that it is really important for this continent, for your generation that live outside the continent, to look back and, you know, in your mind, think Africa. And it seemed like in talking to the both of you, you're already doing that. And the spotlight on second generation is going to continue. And I'd like to thank you, Renard Coker, Houston, Texas, and Helena Ansa and London, United Kingdom. Thank you for joining me on Diaspora Weekly, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Well, thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Bye.